Hey, this is Josh Satin. You're listening to the Passive Investor Show.
The views and opinions provided on this show are for informational purposes only and should not be misinterpreted as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, please go to passiveinvestorshow.com. Hey, PI listeners, this is John Fortes. I'm making it a point to speak to as many investors as possible. My goal is to position myself to be a blessing to my network through conversation. How could one be a blessing through conversation? The easy answer is by listening. A simple conversation can open many opportunities and doors. I always ask myself this: what do I have to lose by having one more conversation? Going back to high school, I've connected friends and family in my network to one another, even if it didn't benefit me. And I continue those same principles and practices. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. If I can't help you, I probably know someone or something that can probably solve your problem. I'd love for you to become a part of that network. Go to www.johnfortes.com, create your investor profile, and schedule a call. How can I best serve you through conversation? In the words of Clarence the Angel from It's a Wonderful Life, no man is a failure who has friends.
And now, the Passive Investor Show. Here's your host, John Fortes.
Welcome, PI listeners, to the Passive Investor Show. I'm the Passive Investor Consultant, John Fortes, your host of the only ranked podcast for passive investors in multifamily syndications and real estate funds. Our goal and purpose of this show is to be a resource to investors and help them master their passive investments by beating inflation 1% at a time. Welcome back, passive investors. I am pleased to be joined with Josh Satin. As VP of Acquisitions, Josh is tasked with sourcing, underwriting, and analyzing all multifamily investments. In his role, he has been involved in the acquisition of 3,800 units valued at nearly $630 million. He was also instrumental in helping to start Happy Homes Communities, Gelt's mobile home park investment arm. Since Happy Home Communities' inception in 2017, Josh has been involved in the acquisitions of 8 mobile home parks, totaling 1,000 spaces. Josh's responsibilities also includes equity raising for each acquisition. Prior to joining Gelt, Josh Satin was a 2-time D1 college All-American baseball player who was drafted by the New York Mets. After completing his degree in political science from UC Berkeley in 2008, Josh played parts in 4 Major League Baseball seasons before retiring in 2016 and joining the Gelt team. Welcome to the show, Josh, and thank you for coming on.
John, thanks for having me.
No worries, man. Let's talk about your background and when you decided to transition from baseball to real estate. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, I think, when you sent me the questions for the show and what the show is all about, I think I was a great guest because I spent the first part of this decade as a limited partner investor. When I was playing ball, I got drafted, like you said, by the Mets in 2008. I got to the major leagues in 2011, and from 2011 to 2014, I was with the Mets, and I did about 12 to 14 deals as a limited investor, 50 grand here, 75 grand there. It was obviously great timing in the market. Learned a lot, and I don't want to say it changed my life, but it definitely benefited my life after baseball. I retired in 2015, and didn't really have a background in anything other than sports. Spent my whole life just grinding and trying to be the best baseball player I could. So I didn't really know what skill set I had, but what I did have was a passive income stream coming in, and which was able to float me for, the time being until I figured out what I wanted to do. And so after the 2014-15 season ended in baseball, I really set out a mission to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I met with, 30 to 40 people in 30 to 40 different businesses, and every one I was like, no, it's not it. CPA, no thanks. Lawyer, no thanks. It didn't really, nothing appealed to me. And I decided to call up one of the groups I was investing with, and they're in San Diego. I drove down there. I live in LA. drove down there, met with them, and it was the first time that my eyes lit up, and I was like, this is what I need to do. And so for the next few months, I just set out to figure out how to get into the business. Fortunate enough to meet these guys at Gelt. This was 2015-ish. I went in there and I said, look, I can consider myself a hustler. I hustled my way through to the major leagues. I don't know anything about anything. All I know is I've done 12 deals passively. I'm cash flowing 9-10% on my money, but I want to learn and figure it out. And so that's kind of what I did. It's been a little over 5 years now, and have been there ever since. And the last few years I've taken control of operations and acquisitions, etc. I mean, it's been a great run.
Couple points. Thank you for sharing that. Couple points, right? One, you are one of the most ideal guests for us. Thank you for mentioning that. You basically are. Two, you're part of the 1% that actually made it to the league. That's phenomenal within itself. Hustler right there, hardworking. Three, would it be safe to say that your passive investments, as you were making them then, put you in a position to explore what you really wanted to do post your career?
For sure. I think it's funny you asked that, because I think, I see a lot of stuff on social media and LinkedIn about, real estate's the path to financial freedom. And it is, but it takes time. You're not getting rich quick in real estate. I did I did 13 or 14 investments at around 50 to 75 grand. That's a lot of money to put to work. And was I financially free? No. But to your point, I mean, I was never in danger of not being able to pay my bills without working. And that was the luxury. And I'm 36 years old. So at the time I was 30, my thought process was, all right, if I'm at that point at 30, where am I going to be at 35? Where am I going to be at 40? And as you continue to grow your investments and continue to grow your involvement in the business, that's how you get financially free. But to your point, it definitely helped float me for a long time. And I was never worried that I had to jump into something that just to make money. I could really find what I was passionate about and what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Because, at 30 years old, you still have your whole life ahead of you, and you don't want to be miserable working a job. I really wanted to find something that fit what I felt was best for me lifestyle wise and best for me skill set wise.
I really wanted to ask you, when you first made one of your, first real estate syndication investments, I'm sure as an athlete, you have opportunities to invest pitched to you consistently. Can you walk us through that first time as an athlete investing in something that might have been foreign, or you might have already realized that you like the idea of investing in syndication because of the hands-off approach? What did that look like for you at that time?
It's a great question, and I did not know anything about it. So I'm very lucky. So a member of my family, my uncle, is the most successful guy in our family, and he sells insurance to apartment buildings, property casualty insurance. And so, but he does really, really well. We're at Thanksgiving in 2011. And the one thing about sports, unlike everything else, is everyone knows how much money you make when you play sports. It's very public, And so little did he know that the previous 3 years, nothing in the minor leagues. But that year I made a good amount of money. And so he was like, what are you going to do with your money? I'm like, I don't know. Most people just give it to a guy. That's the athlete way to do it. You give it to a guy. And he's like, do me a favor. What do you think I made in insurance? I made triple that investing in real estate. He's like, just trust me, invest in this next deal. If it goes bad, I'll give you your money back. And I was like, okay. So I did it. Deal happened to be a good deal. And so that obviously got me on the right foot. It was in Reno, right when Tesla came. We were able to refinance out our money in 9 months and still cash flow, I think 8% on our original. So I put 50 grand. I got 50 grand out in 9 months. And then I was cash flowing 8% on 50 grand. And we still own the deal. That's an anomaly. But for me, that was my first deal. I'm like, this is awesome. This is how it is. I'm doing this forever. So I just did a couple other deals, and I started to get educated. There wasn't podcasts or anything then. So I read a few books. I remember I read this book. Someone introduced me to this book, The ABCs of Real Estate Investing by Ken McElroy. I read that book. It was helpful, but I didn't know anything about anything. So you're still kind of wide-eyed. But the concepts of what they were doing, buying 80s built deals, renovating units, getting higher rents, that all made sense to me. And so I ended up doing, a handful of deals with them. But yeah, to answer your question, it was luck. For me, I didn't know anything. I wasn't educated about it, but I got some really, really good advice. And it's funny because you read all these stories about athletes getting really bad advice and investing in, a restaurant or some video game company or whatever. I was fortunate enough to have someone I trusted give me good advice.
Sounds like the referral was the way. And that's usually how a lot of investors that I come across are usually referred,
Yep.
or they just happen to self-educate themselves. So it's a little bit of, one of the two. So thanks for sharing that. I'm always interested in how people got involved and what did that first investment look like. Yeah, as a limited partner, now you actually work with limited partners. What did that look like for you when you first started working with limited partners?
Yeah, so it's funny because when I got hired in 2015, they'll never admit this, but I think they hired me to help raise money. This guy's an athlete. He knows a lot of rich people. People will be interested in him. He could get all the baseball players in, and that was cool. And that was my way in to the business. But for me, like, that's not what I wanted to do to start. I wanted to learn the business because I never want to pitch anything I didn't know. And so, I kind of, before they hired me, I was like playing it up, like, yeah, I'll raise a ton of money. And I do, and I always plan on doing that. But I really needed some time to understand the business. And what happened is I actually fell in love with the business. The operational part of the business is really appealing to me and really enjoyable. But, for me, I think my experience as a limited partner has benefited me a lot in raising money, because you understand, I understand what people, not necessarily what triggers people, because I don't want to like trick anyone, but what conversations need to be had for people to understand what's going on, because people want to invest in what they understand. And, sometimes we forget as people in the industry that, talking about a cap rate or NOI or whatever, like, those are weird terms to people that aren't in the business. And so always making sure that I'm very simplistic with new investors or even old investors, and really telling them what they need to understand without, making it sound too complicated.
I completely agree. My mentor in the IT world once told me, speak to them as if they don't know technical terminology. So basically speaking to investors as if they don't know cap rates and NOIs. And so I love that information. Thank you for sharing that. So what is the criteria you look for in passive investors? Because passive investors are, either vetting us, so we are also vetting them to see if they are right for the deal. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there's definitely the right kind of investor, and the right kind of investor is the investor that they don't necessarily need to know the business at all, but they need to understand, the core of this business. And the core of this business is real estate is a long-term game. Therefore, you need to understand that some investments need to be 5, 7, 10 years in order for them to work out. And not only is it a long-term game, it's a liquid game. So, the wrong type of investor is the one that's like, hey, it's been 18 months, like, I need my money out. No. Take it from someone that's been a limited partner for over 10 years. Longevity is your best friend. I'm a big proponent of, and we can talk about this later, but the 1031 exchange. And I think that's really how you grow your wealth, and really as a passive investor, how this business makes the most amount of sense. But for me, the right investor is someone that is intrigued and wants to get to know the business, but isn't overly aggressive in telling you like what, your model looks wrong or whatnot. It's someone that asks questions, but doesn't ask, I don't want to say too many questions, but doesn't ask the wrong questions. There's so many different questions you can have when looking at a deal. And, sometimes a quick Google search is easy enough. I'll get emails with 30 questions from someone, and it's like, hey, what's the population in Denver? I'm like, I got 600 investors and 100 on this deal. Like, that can be a challenge to answer questions like that. Just, it takes up time. So for me, it's someone that's very interested in the business. I want people to want to learn the business, but understand that there's some questions that can be easily answered by yourself.
Got it. What are some of the materials that you send to investors or prospect investors before they start investing? Is there any marketing material that you usually send?
We have a deck that we send, which just shows our philosophy. But for me, like, I really prefer and enjoy a 15, 20-minute conversation with an investor. Get to know them, and them get to know me. I like to tell them like my story that I told you, just so they get a sense of like that I know what I've been in their shoes before. And I like to know what their goals are. If you're, like I said, if you're a 40-year-old guy, you started making good amount of money and you're like, I want to be able to have enough passive income by the time I'm 55, 60 to where I don't have to work. I can, but I don't have to. That's the guy I want. That's what I want to know. And I can set you up very, very easily over the next, 10, 15 years to make that happen. If it's someone that's like, hey, I want to buy a house in 2 years and I need to make $1 million in 2 years, like that's a more of a challenge. But just understanding that is understanding someone's goals and figuring out how to make it work for them. So just getting to know people. I love getting to know. I mean, the best part about our business, in my opinion, is getting to know so many different people from so many different backgrounds that do so many different things that all have one similar goal. When I played baseball, I thought the best part about the business was seeing different places in the country and the world. And real estate is just getting to know people and getting to know what they want, how hard they've worked. I've met immigrants that have come here from nothing and grinded their way up to high level positions at tech companies. And like, those are the people that you see them, you're like, I want to do well for that guy so badly. I want to help that guy continue to grow. And so, for me, that's what's the best part about this business is figuring out, is learning about people and figuring out how to help them achieve their dreams.
What is Gelt's onboarding process when a new investor comes on board?
It's very simple. I mean, preferably, like I said, we talk to them, but we get a lot of inquiries these days online on our website. So if an investor doesn't want to talk and just wants to be put on our email list, that's fine too. Before they ever give us money, we'll definitely be in conversation with them just to get to know them and see what they're all about and see what their dreams are and their goals are. Our business is all about, meeting new people. And so when people reach out to us, putting them on our email list, we try to send out notes every once in a while about what we're seeing in the market, et cetera. And so they get to know us. But our onboarding process is pretty simple. We want to give access to anyone that wants access, the ability to invest in our deals, as long as they're accredited, obviously. And so, that's just the first step is letting them see what we do. And if they're intrigued, then starting a conversation.
What's one piece of advice for the PI listeners?
Never too early to start, because this is a long game. For me, the power of real estate is, I know I've said this a few times, but it's not get rich quick. It's, can you invest 50 grand into a deal, sell that in 5 years, that 50 grand turns into 100, all of a sudden you're cash flowing 7-8% on 100, sell that in another 5-7 years. Now it's 200, you're cash flowing 7-8% on 200. What if you did that 5-10 times over a 10-year span? All of a sudden you're cash flowing, 6 figures, and your life, to your point earlier, like your life is a lot different. And so for me, it's never too early to start. It's never too early to learn, get educated. Our business, I feel like market is everything. So figure out where you want to invest, study up on markets. You don't have to understand the business and the operations that well, but as a limited investor, understand where you want to invest and why. And I mean, understand where people are moving to. That's the crux of our business. Where are people moving? What cities do people want to live in? Where are all the jobs and where are people moving? And that's where the success is going to be in our business. And so I would say learn markets, learn where you want to be, and it's never too early to start.
Josh, how can we stay in touch with you?
You can email me. My email is josh@geltinc.com, josh@geltinc.com. You can check out our website, geltinc.com. Would love to talk to you. I mean, I love this business. There's two things that I'm really passionate about is baseball and real estate. I love talking baseball. It's funny. There's investors that call me that I never met that, they're interested in investing, but they want to talk baseball. And how now that I'm 5 years out, I love talking baseball too again. I needed a little break. So reach out anytime. I love this business. It's an incredible business. It's a fun business, and it's a great business to meet people, both in real estate and people interested in real estate that do other things that are interesting. Feel free to reach out anytime. We'd love to talk.
All right, this is my favorite question, and hope you have the answer to this. What is the meaning behind the company name?
Do you not know?
No, I don't. No.
All right, you can tell a lot about a guy if he doesn't know the meaning of our name, and I'll tell you why. So Gelt is the Yiddish word for money. I didn't come up with the name, obviously. If you can tell right away how someone reacts to our name if they're Jewish or not, because Yiddish is the old Jewish language, and the guys that founded our firm speak Yiddish, go to Israel a ton, and so they thought it was a clever name, and so Gelt is the Yiddish word for money. Obviously, we're in this business to make money, and so that's why they called it Gelt.
I actually love that. I love that. I never knew, but I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you for sharing that. Josh, thank you for stopping by. Everybody listening, this is Josh Satin. Reach out to him. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate your time.
John, thank you. It was fun.
Don't forget to download your free copy of the investment tracker. It allows you to track up to 5 investments, compare sponsors, markets, and most importantly, projected versus actual returns. To get your copy, go to www.projectedreturns.com. PI listeners, thank you for listening. As always, we hope this was the best resource for your investment strategy, but also the best use of your time. Remember, if this episode helps you, you can help us by leaving a review on iTunes. I hope you feel compelled enough to share it with someone you think this would resonate with as well. As much as it pains us to leave you, but you know what time it is. Time to go put this into practice. Till the next time we meet, happy investing. PI listeners, I'm grateful for your time and I appreciate you for listening. It would mean the world to me if you went to iTunes and left a rating and written review. Let me know how you feel about the show. It really makes a big difference with getting the podcast out there. Don't forget about our Facebook group, where all of our guests are members of. I'll be there to answer any of your questions, or even questions you might have for future guests. Subscribe so you can get the latest episodes and our fan favorite quick hitters. Finally, I want to keep you updated, so head over to johnfortes.com and sign up for the newsletter. If you're interested in partnering with me, sign up on the contact page so you can talk to me directly. I look forward to connecting with you. Happy investing.